Hello guys, welcome to Albion Community's very first author workshop with me, Fraser, from the schools team. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be interviewing three famous football authors, and they're going to be giving us an insight into what must be one of the best jobs in the world. So today we're joined by Ben Lyttleton, who's written the Football Schools books. Hi Ben.
Hello Fraser, nice to see you.
Brilliant, you got your book there as well.
I've got everything. I've got my ball, I've got my book, I've got my red card in case you misbehave. I've even got my referee starter's whistle.
Fantastic.
So we're ready to go.
I hope you don't need to use the red card on me.
No, exactly.
But we'll give it a go. So Ben, could you just maybe explain a little bit about yourself and about Football School?
Yeah, so I've been writing the Football School series of books with my very good friend Alex Bellos for 4 years. There are now, I think, 8 books in the series. Football School, season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4. We've got a really fun quiz book. We've got a star players book. We've got a joke book as well, which I've lost, which is a bit of a joke. And we've got a new puzzle book, which is a great summer book with loads of riddles and puzzles and tricks and word plays in there. So we've written loads of books in the series, and we're really passionate about football and reading. And so it's the kind of book that I would have loved when I was a kid. And I'm passionate about getting kids into reading and using football as a way to do that and to learn about the world at the same time.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds great. I love the books myself. I've been reading them a fair bit over the last few weeks while I've had some time on my hands. So we've actually asked some of the children of Sussex to send in some questions for you. I've managed to whittle it down to 3, which I'll kind of intersperse in between some different ones of my questions. And then if you could maybe pick your favourite one, and I think you've got some goodies that you could send to the person who sent that one in.
Yeah, I do. Somewhere around here, I've got some goodies. Hang on 1 second, and I've got. If I look in my goodie bag here, what have I got? I didn't have these ready, but I've got a Football School medal, which is actually priceless. It's like a winner's medal, Football School medal.
Perfect.
I've got stickers, which everyone loves. Who doesn't love stickers? I've got bookmarks, and I've got all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I've got goodies for the best questions. So I'm looking forward to passing those on.
Cool. And I think you're also going to set a bit of a challenge from your new puzzle book towards the end as well. So guys, stay tuned for that one. I think we'll kick it off with a couple of my questions, if that's okay. So how did you get into writing, and why did you choose to write about football?
So I always wanted to be a footballer when I was younger. And even though, I mean, you can only see the top half of me, but I look like an elite athlete and I have the physique of an elite athlete. But sadly, my feet didn't always do what my brain was telling them to do. So I wasn't good enough to be a professional footballer. But I thought there must be a way I can work in professional football without actually being a footballer. And just like you're working with Albion in the community, and I'm sure you're an extremely talented footballer and probably good enough to be certainly at least on the bench for the Albion. You're working in football without actually being a footballer, and there are lots of ways of doing that. And so from quite an early age, I realised that I wasn't good enough to be a professional player. So I thought, how can I work in football without being a footballer? And I was really passionate when I was younger about reading and writing. So I thought, oh, maybe I can write about football and turn that into a career. And so I've been lucky enough to do that. So every day I'm talking about football and I'm watching football and I'm meeting footballers. And I don't even have to be any good at football, even though, well, in lockdown I've got better. I've been practicing my keepy uppies, so I've got a little bit better. But that's why I chose to write about football, because I love it so much, and to be able to talk about it every day is a real privilege.
Yeah, fantastic. So how did you find reading and writing when you were at school? Was it something that came easy to you?
So I always loved reading. I was really passionate about stories and books, and I'd always have at least 1 or 2 books on the go at the same time. And as a result of that, I think I developed my writing skills without even realizing it. My vocab, my grammar, my communication skills, even my confidence and well-being was improved just by reading books. And that's something that I really encourage all young people to do now. And because I was so passionate about football as well, I would set myself these small challenges. I'd watch a match and then try and write 200 words on it, as though I was working for a newspaper, even though I was really young and I probably wouldn't be allowed to be employed by a paper at that age. But I would set myself these challenges, and they were just small writing challenges. and there was no right or wrong, and I couldn't, make any mistakes because there was no such thing. So I was just doing it for myself. But it was a really good challenge because I was channeling a passion, but just practicing as well. And that's something else that I'd really urge any young people watching to do, is to read as much as you can, but also if you get a chance to scribble some notes on anything, to do that as well.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic, and a great way to kind of get used to being an author before you even are one.
Yeah,
brilliant. Were there any particular books that you really loved when you were younger, or was
there weren't that many football books around back then, but so I read lots of football magazines and annuals and stuff, but the books I liked were actually mystery stories. So I read a lot of Tom Sawyer. I read a lot of Roald Dahl because he was funny, but I also really liked Agatha Christie when I was younger. Sort of murder's a bit gruesome sometimes, but I do love a mystery, so that's what I read when I was younger.
Brilliant. Yeah, and it's something when I was younger that there wasn't too many football books for me either, so it's definitely something that's got better, which is fantastic. So children can read your books and they can really enjoy them, which is great. So can you maybe tell us a bit about how football school came about?
Yeah, so I wrote the books with my very good friend Alex Bellos, who looks like this. He's obviously not with us today, but he's got big black curly hair and a beard. And so actually, if I really was going to do an impression of Alex, I'd put this on, because this is basically what Alex looks like, although he doesn't always wear glasses. When we started working together, I didn't have a beard and he didn't wear glasses, but as we're getting older, I've grown a beard and he's beginning to wear glasses. So we're slowly, quite scarily, turning into each other without even realizing it. But we were really good friends and we wanted to work on something together. And we realized that, that if we want to get children to read, we've got to find a subject they're really passionate about. And when we were both younger, we were mad crazy about football. And we thought, well, maybe then actually not that many books that are non-fiction about football. And by non-fiction, I mean not made up stories. And there are loads of great made up stories about football. And I think some of the people you're going to be speaking to in this fantastic author series have written brilliant books about football that are fiction. They don't exist. Jamie Johnson is a brilliant character. His stories are fantastic, but he's not a real person. So what we wanted to do was something a bit different, which is take the real world and write about football in an entertaining and funny way. And that's what we did. So that's what football school is. And so in football school, every lesson is about football. So it's set in a fictional school. And I'll just see if I can find you the timetable, because the timetable might look like your timetable at school with all these lessons: geography, history, design, tech, science, music, drama. But in football school, we actually talk about football in these lessons. So for example, the geography lesson would be about the climate in Brazil and why Brazilians are so skillful. And it's actually because of the geography of Brazil, because they learn to play on the beach or in tiny spaces because there's so much rainfall. There are no grass pitches because it's a tropical climate. So you're taking a concept of geography, but actually talking about football without even realizing it. So that's what we've done in all the books. And so we're celebrating football, but also learning about the world and having a laugh as well, because there are loads of cartoons, there are loads of jokes. I take the mickey out of Alex all the time and he does it back to me. So it's just like friends having a joke as well. So it's really good fun.
Yeah, brilliant. And you can tell that you're such good friends as well in the books. You've got that kind of banter going on with each other. So I think we're gonna move on to our first question that I've selected that's been sent in. This one's from Ruby, who takes part in our girls football pathway in Chichester, and she was wondering, what is your process like for researching the books, and how long does it take you?
So thank you for that question. It is a really good question, and the process has changed as we've gone along, because the first time we wrote the book, we spent ages trying to work out what the best way of doing it was and making sure that it would be a way that would engage as many children as possible to enjoy reading the books, but also have a laugh as well. So to be amused, because I think if you want to learn things, it's much easier if you're chuckling away at something. Humor is a really good way of learning and encouraging people to read. So we had to get the balance of jokes, comedy, humor, as well as football and the learning. So that takes a while. In terms of researching it, we're constantly researching it. So at the moment, we're watching matches where there are no fans in the stadium, which is really interesting, because how does that affect how we play? Or how does that affect how the referees behave? Or how does that affect if players dive? So we're always looking at things that are happening in the real world and seeing, is there a story in that? Could we actually write something like that? Is there a lesson in that? Are players doing fewer dribbles because there are no fans to get up off their seat and cheer them? Are players diving less because there are no fans to try and impress? So it's really interesting to take things that are happening all the time in the real world and try and see if we can write about them a bit. So the research process is constantly ongoing. In terms of how long it takes, book one actually took us 18 months to do from start to finish. So that was a long time. Book two took a year. And by the time we got to Star Players, which I think is our 6th book, we were down to about 9 months. So we're now around nine months a book, which is about the same as a child. And the process is not too dissimilar, although this is much funnier than giving birth, but also slightly less rewarding, of course. But it takes about 9 months to produce the book from start to finish, and that's how long it takes. Great question.
Yeah, brilliant question, Ruby. Thanks for that, Ben. So it's quite rare that you have a book that's written, that's co-authored. You see it sometimes, but not all the time. How does that actually work? Do you kind of start one sentence and the other person finishes another, or how does that work?
So that's a good question. And I mean, Alex and I both write other books as well. So I've written a book for adults, which is called 12 Yards. I wrote that on my own. It's all about penalty kicks. So I'm a penalty expert as well. So writing on my own is very solitary, and you just have all the ideas and you smash them down on the computer. But writing together is really different, and it's collaborative, and it's much more enjoyable in a way, because even though we're in separate locations, and Alex actually doesn't live too far away from me, can't see him out my window, but if I wave in that direction, he's somewhere over there, about a mile or two down the road. But what we do is we write a chapter each. So we'll allocate a chapter each. So I'll write one chapter on my own. I will then send it to him to look at, and he will improve it. And we're always trying to improve each other's work. And because we respect and like each other so much, I never get upset if he takes something that I've written and plays around with it, because I always see that he's trying to improve it. And sometimes, most of the time, it will work, and sometimes we'll discuss it. And the same will be for him. He'll write a chapter, send it to me. I will add some jokes in it normally, the jokey one. And then by the time that we've done that 3 or 4 times, you won't be able to realize that I've actually written the original chapter, or he's written the original chapter, because it will have both our voices in it. So the process is, which starts off as an individual, but by the time we've both worked on it and looked at it and improved it so much that it's actually a collaborative effort, which is really enjoyable and fun. And I know that I wouldn't do it as well if he wasn't there, and he wouldn't do it as well if I wasn't there. So we both rely on each other a great deal, and it's great. So it's a really good partnership.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant way of working. And that's what you tend to find at school as well. If one of your friends reads your story, sometimes they can give you little pointers as to how to improve it, which is really valuable.
Yeah, I totally agree with that phrase. And I also think learning how to collaborate and learning how to work together from a young age is a really crucial skill in life. And I've come to it really late, because, you know, as a writer, I spent 20 years, 25 years just doing it on my own. So only now to write together and learn the benefits of it, and realize how much better it is and how much better my work is because I've got someone else closely that I'm working with. It is really a terrific privilege. And so I would encourage people to write together if they can. You can use, you know, all sorts of technology to actually share documents now. And so writing together is a really cool skill to have for the future.
Yeah, brilliant. My next question was going to be about when you struggle to write, and I guess in some ways by writing with Alex, that makes the process a bit easier. But I know that sometimes when I'm writing stories, and when the young people I work with write stories, that they might get stuck or get writer's block. Does this happen to you very often, and how do you manage to do it?
Yeah, it does. And it probably happens more than you think, especially during the recent period where it's been quite difficult to focus, and there's a lot of worries going on in the world. So sometimes it's pretty hard to just sit down and write as clearly as you would want to. So what I tend to do is, if I'm stuck, I'll try and go for a walk or get some fresh air. I always find that helps. And if I'm still stuck, I will start in the middle. So I won't start at the front. And often it's the first bit that's the hardest bit. And so I'll just write something in the middle or even at the end, and then I'll go back to it. And it's always better to have something written down that you can work from, no matter where it is in the story, and then you can play around with it, than just say, oh, I can't think of a first sentence. I can't think of a second sentence. I can't do it. That's not a growth mindset attitude. That's not a growth mindset attitude. But also, you don't always have to start everything from the first sentence. You could start in the middle, and that middle bit could end up as your first sentence or could end up as your last sentence. But as long as you've got something to work with from the start, that is, I think, the most important thing. So I do get stuck quite a lot, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But as long as I'm writing something, I don't really mind.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just to get your ideas on the paper, and you can be fluid with it once you've done that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I imagine you're not always writing every day. So I know that you spend quite a lot of time in schools. What do you tend to do when you're in schools?
Well, I love visiting schools, and it's really sad that I haven't been able to visit them for a while now, but I'm really looking forward to getting back to it, hopefully for next term in September, but if not, in the new year. But I really do miss it, because I find visiting schools and actually seeing and spending time with the children is the funnest part of my job. And we've actually done some school events together, so you've seen what I've done, and it is really fun. I do an interactive assembly where I get everyone singing a football school hymn, dancing the samba. We have a quiz where we'll work out I'll ask some children who scored more goals for which team. So it's like a maths quiz. I've got loads of prizes. It's really enjoyable. And then I break off and do workshops with individual class groups, which is also very rewarding. And we take the lessons that are in the book, and we talk about philosophy or design tech or biology, and we do individual workshop sessions, which are also really rewarding, because you're seeing the kids think about how things are connected in a different way. And what football school does is really open up the school curriculum to show that everything is connected, and it encourages a love of learning and reading and writing all through football. But actually, you're thinking about other things as well. So one of the exercises that I really love to do is talk about what the philosophy of football clubs is. And certain clubs have very clear and obvious philosophies. Brighton and Hove Albion is one, where they play a certain way. Their respect and love for the community is really important to them, and a key part of what makes the club so special. And so I ask people to think about what their purpose or their philosophy is, and what makes them special and different. So they think about the most important things in their life. And you see that when people are actually thinking about themselves and reflecting on the things that are important to them, just like a football club needs to do as well, they get a different idea of where they exist in the world and what the important things are. And they talk about their family and their hobbies. And it's nice to be reminded of what's important to you in the world, because everything is busy and it's confusing and loud. So using football as a tool to think about that can be very rewarding as well. Yeah,
definitely. We've done some work together before. We had Gully coming along, didn't we? And Gully was doing the samba, which was great. Some pretty good dance moves from Gully.
Yes,
when we worked together.
Gully was busting out some moves there. I was really impressed. Normally, when I work with flying animals, I'm worried that they're going to drop a present on someone's head. But Gully there was no chance of that. He was busting out some moves. It was impressive.
Yeah, brilliant. So if anyone watching would be really keen to be an author when they leave school, what kind of piece of advice would you give them that they can do straight away to achieve that dream?
Right, so there are two main things, I think, Fraser. One is just read anything. Read about football, read about the news, read stories, read mysteries, read crosswords, read anything you're passionate about. Dragons, mystery, unicorns, whatever it is that you are into, just read about it. And that will help you without even realizing it. It will help develop, as I mentioned earlier, your vocab, your language, your grammar, your communication, but also it will make you happy. So taking you off into imaginary worlds, is an escape from real life. And sometimes that's just what we all need in life. So I love to read before I go to sleep, because it takes me away from what's happened in the day, so I can go to sleep thinking about something else. And I find that really relaxing. So reading is one. And as I did earlier, when I was younger, just write anything, write in a diary, make a poster, write match reports if you're into football, write descriptive stories about magic if you're into wizardry, anything at all. Just write and write, and you don't need to show it to anyone. It doesn't need to be marked. You don't need to worry about your spelling. You don't need to worry about your grammar. It's just putting words down and coming up with ideas and stories that are unique to you. And there's no right or wrong with any of it, which is what I love about writing. So if you write a story, there's no right or wrong. It's your story. It belongs to you. These are your words and it's your language. So that's the main piece of advice, is just read a lot and write anything. And that worked for me, but also, even if I didn't end up as an author, it also just made me happy. And if I'm happier, I'm more confident, I have better relationships, I'm a better friend to my friends, I have more friends, I've got stuff to talk to them about. So there's so many benefits that we don't even realize or recognize just from reading books and being passionate about literacy. So there are all these benefits that I would really urge anyone young, especially with the summer holidays coming up, to get into. So those are my two pieces of advice.
Yeah, I definitely echo that advice. That's some brilliant advice. Thanks, Ben. I'm going to give you the last question that we've got, and that's from Anwar, who says that he memorises the football school facts and likes to tell his friends them. He's asking, how many more football school books are you planning to write?
Well, I love that question, Anwar, and I love the fact that you're remembering all the facts. That's terrific. So this summer, I'm about to write another one. We've just finished one that's coming out in October, and it's called Epic Heroes. And I say it's a bit like Star Players. It's not, because it's about epic heroes, not star players. But we've got some amazing stories that of players that you'll be familiar with, like Lionel Messi, Megan Rapinoe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Jurgen Klopp, but also heroes that you won't be familiar with. Incredible stories, like the team that were ranked 209th, bottom of the FIFA rankings, from Bhutan, and the time they played a match, or the team that was trapped in a cave underground for over a week, or the player that was imprisoned for 2 years at the peak of his powers. We have some incredible stories of epic heroism, and that's coming out in October. And then next year we've got a book coming out. I can't reveal the name yet, but I'm also really excited about that. That's next May, and then that's enough to be going on with, because that's basically 2 more books I've got to write before next year. So, Anwar, to answer your question, there's going to be plenty more for you to read in the next year or so, and lots for me to write as well. So I hope you enjoy the books and keep on remembering those facts.
Yeah, perfect. You know what, Ben? I've actually forgotten the other question. I thought I'd asked it to you earlier. So our final question isn't Anwar's. It's from Maisie, who says she loves football and writing just as much as each other, which is great. Which kind of links into what you just said about writing a couple of books. And her question is, how do you keep motivated to finish your books?
Right. So the motivation to finish is a good question, but it's the motivation to start that's the problem, I think, because once you've started, you know that you're going to get something that you're proud of, right? I'm really proud of this, but I'm proud of all of them. To hold something in your hand that you've worked on so hard and you've written, it is an amazing feeling. And there's a feeling of achievement, and not even holding the books, just having finished it. And even if no one reads it or enjoys it, to have written something that I'm proud of in itself is a motivation. So doesn't just have to be about other people sharing it as well. When I was young, if I wrote something I was proud of, that was great motivation for me. So that's often enough for it. It's sometimes hard to get started because, as I said, if you don't have the idea, it's tricky. But because football is so rich with stories from all over the world, and not just of goals and glory and winning, the stories that interest me are actually not those stories. The stories that interest me are the ones about people recovering from setbacks, from the player that was injured for a year and then came back and played. And doesn't matter that he scored, he just came back and he showed amazing resilience and recovery skills. The stories that I like are about people who use their skills in different ways. So we interviewed a blogger who set up a tactics blog in Germany, and then a coach, Thomas Tuchel, who was a coach in Germany, read the blog and liked it and said, "Oh, come and work for me." And now this guy who was a blogger is an assistant coach at one of the biggest teams in Germany, just because he started writing, like I'm encouraging you to be passionate, to write about his passion. There's a guy who now works for Liverpool who loves throw-ins and thinks that throw-ins are a great way of you can improve your chances of scoring a goal if you take quick throw-ins or if you take long throw-ins. And he's just a Danish guy who's like, I'm really passionate about throw-ins. He practiced and practiced and practiced. He broke the world record for the longest ever throw-in, which was over 50 meters. And then Jurgen Klopp read his story in the newspaper and said, "Oh, maybe I can do something with that." And then he started working for Liverpool, teaching them how to do quick throw-ins, and they won the Champions League and the Premier League. So he's not even a footballer, but it's a story about believing in yourself, having a unique skill. And these are the stories that I'm interested in and that motivate me to tell, because football is not just about the winners or the trophies. Football is the most popular sport in the world for a reason. It's not because of that. It's because of all the other richness that we get in life about coping with failure and coping with defeat and having growth mindset and just improving, even if it's our keepy uppies from 2 keepy uppies to 5 keepy uppies. It's just about, it's a good metaphor for life, really. There are loads of lessons we can learn from football that can help us in life.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think certainly the Brighton fans will be able to resonate with that, with our kind of journey to our American Express Community Stadium and how that was such a battle to go from the Goldson ground to there, and the journey that was. So brilliant. Maybe put that in your next book, Ben.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, there are different ways to measure success, right? Success is not just about winning the trophy. Only one team can win the league every year. And for Brighton, success is the emotion that the club gives to the fans as being part of this really special, unique community that is unlike any other. And that comes from, having an amazing stadium, but also comes from the relationship that the whole club has with the fans. And during this really tough period of months that we've all gone through this year, Brighton has been a beacon of hope for how clubs should behave towards their fans during tough times. Other clubs all around the world watch what Brighton are doing in terms of communication, the way the players were helping their community, the way the club was raising funds to help our community. Brighton are not going to win the Premier League, but in many people's eyes, they are huge winners, and they're really successful because they know what's important in life. And it's not just about winning matches on the pitch. It's about building relationships and being part of a community and helping other people and showing kindness. And these are the lessons that we can learn from football clubs that are nothing about kicking a ball.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't have said it better myself. I know that me and some of my colleagues have been having a go at some of the puzzles in your new puzzle book.
Yeah, the ultimate puzzle book. Here it is.
Over the last few weeks, is there maybe one puzzle that you could pick out that you could give to our viewers to have a go at?
Okay, I will do. So we've got loads of brain teasers and riddles in there, but I've got a word game. Okay, and I've taken a word from football, and the challenge is to come up with as many words as you can that you can find within the words. Okay, and the word is this: penalty. Of course, I would put that as my word because I'm a penalty expert. Okay, I love penalties. So I'll give you a clue. You might need to pick up a pen to do it. Right, there's a clue because the word pen is in penalty. Now, if I change the letters of the word slightly, I wonder if it changes how you look at what words might be available. Because now what I've done is made 4 letters one colour and 3 another. So if you look at the 4 purple letters, you might come up with a plan for how to do it. But you mustn't take a nap in the middle of it. And when you finish it, you could do a lap of honor with your best pal. So if you do different colors, it might actually help you as well. And you'll find that there are plenty of words to come up with. So just like always, there's no right or wrong. Even if you get 2 or 3 words, you're doing well. But have a go at it and maybe ask your siblings and your family how they get on with it. But it's a really fun exercise. And you'd think, oh, it's a very short word. There are only 7 letters. But, you know, you could come up with quite a few words from that. So that's a challenge that you could do with your family over the summer. And it's from our puzzle book.
Fantastic. I'm going to have a go at that myself. And guys, if you want to have a go at that, please let us know how you get on with that on our social media channels. And then I'm sure we can tag Ben in so he can see how you're doing as well. Last thing then, Ben, I'd like to pick one of the 3 questions that I asked you that were sent in by Ruby, Maisie and Anwar. Who has won the football school goodies?
So, well, first of all, I should say thank you to all of you for asking the questions, Anwar, Maisie and Ruby, and you, Fraser, for inviting me onto this brilliant chat. It's a typical one, but I did like the question about research as well, because I think it's important to know what you're letting yourself in for before you start something. So I'm going to give the prize to Ruby. I'm going to send the goodies to her via you. So Ruby, you'll get all the goodies. And yeah, so thank you again for all the questions. And I love it because I really feel like we've been showing boring chats the red card, and it's always great to talk about football, of course.
Fantastic.
So it's been brilliant fun.
Ben, thanks so much for joining us and giving up your time for us today. It's been great to get an insight in what being an author is like. And yeah, I'll keep reading those football school books, and I'm sure everyone else will too. And I'm looking forward to the new books that are coming out as well.
Thank you, Fraser. I will keep writing them. And as I like to finish every football school chat with a final whistle, I should really bring the curtain down on this one as well. That was quite loud.
Thanks, Ben. Make sure you cheer on the Seagulls for the rest of the season as well.
Of course I will. Flying high. Go Seagulls.
Brilliant. Guys, thanks at home for joining us as well. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Please have a go at that challenge and let us know how you get on. And stay tuned for the next author workshops. We've got another couple of authors coming up over the next few weeks. If you wanted to send in any more questions, please do that as well. And see you next time. Goodbye.